Okie dokie. So Nate, we are live.
That's excellent.
Alrighty. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to share my screen, get our presentation going here. And then we will be up and running. Okie dokie. Here we go. Okie dokie. So welcome everybody. Yes. Welcome to our virtual Facebook Live presentation today. We've got Nate Toves here from WorkBC Assistive Technology Services. I'm just going to start with a brief territorial acknowledgement. WorkBC Centre West Shore and Souk recognizes the traditional territories of the Esquimalt, Songhees, Souk, Chiana, and Pacheedaht First Nations, on which our offices are located. We are proud to provide employment-related services to these nations. So we're going to start with a brief overview of WorkBC Employment Services, and then we'll pass it over to Nate. We'll do a Q&A and learn a little bit more about WorkBC Assistive Technology Services. And then at the end, any of the questions that pop up in the comments, we'll get a chance to head over to those. So getting started. We are the WorkBC West Shore and Souk Centers, and we offer free employment services. So WorkBC Employment Services are free and available to all unemployed British Columbians who are seeking employment and are legally eligible to work in BC. Some employed individuals may also be eligible for our services, such as those who are at risk of losing their current job or underemployed British Columbians with a disability. WorkBC centers are located across British Columbia, meaning if you register at one and you happen to move to another part of BC, you can always transfer to that center there. WorkBC offers a range of services that support job seekers to improve employment readiness and to find or maintain employment. Additionally, any BC job seeker can access the self-serve resource area of WorkBC Employment Service Centers. So what's the Resource Center? That's where you can use our computers for all your job search needs or access a printer or photocopier for your job search documents. A staff member is available to assist you if you have any questions or need assistance, and resource services are available on a drop-in or appointment basis. Workshops. Our virtual workshops that actually just went back in person just this past week cover all aspects of job search and job retention to ensure you achieve your goals. So some topics include resume building, career planning, interview skills, hidden job market, and our new mature workers workshop. Wage subsidy. The wage subsidy program is designed to assist unemployed individuals or underemployed individuals to enhance their skills on the job. Wage subsidy assists the employer when hiring someone who lacks all of the necessary skills for a position by offering a percentage of your wages for up to a duration of 24 weeks. Personal employment planning. We provide individualized sessions with an employment advisor to build your return to work action plan, helping you define your path to success. Job start supports. So meaning if you just got a new job, we can provide financial funding for clothing such as boots, scrubs, tools, and short-term courses such as food safe and first aid that can be unavailable to those who are unable to afford it. And job sustainment services. WorkBC centers offer job sustainment services to help you resolve issues impacting your ability to maintain employment. We can provide on-the-job or in-office support from experienced job coaches. They can help you mediate disputes with your employer, learn new procedures, or gain insight into today's workplace culture. Job listings and labor market info newsletter. As a registered client of the West Shore or Souk WorkBC centers, you can receive our newsletter, Job Links. This newsletter features a daily list of job leads, covers local employment information, as well as employment events and programs. So if you'd like to learn any more about our services, you're more than welcome to head to our website or come on into our center, and our Resource Center staff would be more than happy to help you. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and hand it over to Nate.
Awesome.
All righty. Are you ready for some questions, Nate?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Fire away.
All righty. Or sorry, were you going to do a little bit of about WorkBC first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely. Great idea. So thanks, Zoe. Really appreciate the opportunity to, excuse me, share with you today. It's amazing the work the 102 WorkBC centers do around the province, connecting persons with, excuse me, connecting employers with possible team members for their organizations. We all, unless you're living under a rock, have certainly seen all the different media reports of organizations struggling to find people, which is really great for employment, not so bad for those companies that need to fill those positions. But the WorkBC offices are doing a great job around the province in helping people upskill their abilities, get into different training programs, which provides them a much better path for them and their families. How do we at Neil Squire and WorkBC Assistive Technology Services fit into that? Well, if any of these folks have a barrier to their employment-related activities, to job search activities when they're associated with WorkBC, barriers to a training program that they'd be put through WorkBC, or the eventual job that they secure, we at Assistive Technology Services can do an assessment with that individual, understand those barriers or challenges, how it impacts those activities, and then we're experts at providing the assistive technology or technologies that that person would require and able to minimize or overcome that barrier. What's interesting about the program, Zoe, is there's two really streams of input. There's two groups of people that may qualify. The one thing they have in common is a barrier caused by a disability, chronic pain, or an old injury. But the one group is the folks you're working with, and they're a client of a WorkBC Employment Center. They're using your services to, again, search for employment. They're using your services to get access to a training program, or they're using your services to, again, find that amazing opportunity. But they have a barrier to those activities caused by a disability, chronic pain, or an old injury, and they need a tool, what we call an accommodation in the employment industry, or which is an assistive technology, and it may be high tech, maybe low tech, maybe software, it may be hardware, it can be ergonomics like supportive ergonomic chairs, sit to stand workstations. It could be hardware like different keyboards and mice for people with different challenges and abilities and barriers. It could be software. It could be something software related that would help somebody like Dragon, that can operate, Dragon naturally speaking, can operate the entire ecosystem of a Windows environment using your voice. We work with a lot of people that have low vision or are legally blind or blind, and many of those people also work with CNIB. And there's tons of different amazing solutions out there for those folks, whether they be hardware like a handheld magnifier, or whether they be software solutions that help people interact in our ever-present digital world. Now, the other group of people that we work with are those that are in the workforce. That would be your sister, your brother, your cousin, your neighbor, that lady you used to play hockey with, that guy you play softball with on the weekend, but they've got a job. They're in the workforce, employed full or part-time or self-employed. But again, the commonality they share with those other folks seeking employment through WorkBC is that barrier. Again, a disability, chronic pain or an old injury. They don't necessarily have a PWD designation, so there's nothing official from the province. They self-identify as having a disability, and then we'll do whatever we need to do to confirm that through doctor's reports or reports from their chiro or physiotherapist, or from the assessment that we do with those folks. But again, the same result. We're going to get them the tools that they need, Zoe, to minimize or overcome that barrier, so they can either stay in the workforce or improve their prospects of even greater employment with the use of these tools. Now, I know we're just spending a short amount of time together today, Zoe, but for the audience, every Wednesday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock via Zoom, we do a 30-minute webinar that goes through this program in detail, whether they be job seekers through WorkBC or people in the workforce. Very commonly, we'll have HR people, business owners, people that work with people in pain, chiropractors, physiotherapists, acupuncturists, that have a client base of people that, of which some of them may very well benefit from our services. So we run that webinar Wednesday from 12:30 to 1. You can go to neilsquire.ca under Get Involved, and it's attend a webinar. And once a month on the third Thursday of every month from 12 to 1, we have a lunch and learn. You bring the lunch, we provide the learning opportunity. Same 30 or 35-minute presentation on the program, but the last 20 or 25 minutes is one of our assistive technology specialists or one of our occupational therapists doing some demonstrations on some different assistive technology solutions that we provide for people in BC. So again, neilsquire.ca, get involved, lunch and learn, and you can register there. They're all free for people to attend, and it's a great opportunity to really go through a much deeper dive of this program and how it works.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. I think there's so many services out there that nobody really knows about. So it's great that you're able to join us today so that we can share a little more about this.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, I got some questions for you. Some of which I think you might have answered. Firstly, is everyone eligible for WorkBC Assistive Technology Services?
Yeah, everyone's a broad, wide swath, right? So anybody that's seeking employment through WorkBC, and if they have a barrier to employment, a training program or job search, they're likely going to qualify. There's some work that they're going to be doing with the WorkBC case manager they're working with. But most of those folks, if they have an Indeed and verifiable barrier, yes, they're going to get sent to us through a mechanism at WorkBC. For people in the workforce, there's a law called the duty to accommodate. And while all employers have a duty to accommodate the needs of their staff, smaller businesses are often challenged with that due to their lack of resources, whether they be financial, time, or just knowing where to get help. So the focus of this program for people in the workforce are self-employed people working in a small business. Now, here's the good news, Zoe. Over 80% of us in BC work for a small business, so quite a few people are certainly covered there. And then people that work in the community, working at community organizations, not-for-profits, and that those organizations obviously they struggle a lot more to support some of the needs of their staff, again, due to financial capacity and stuff. So our focus in this program is smaller business. There's two exceptions to that are really notable, Zoe, where it really doesn't matter where somebody works, and that's hearing aids. Hearing aids are very expensive. They're $4,000 to $8,000 a pair in BC. We have no coverage through our medical services plan in BC. And even if you've got a good benefits program at work, very commonly we find through administrating this program, $250 to $500 a year of coverage. Hearing aids are $2,500 to $4,000 a year. That leaves a big gap for most British Columbians, so we can probably help with that. And the other thing where an employer, and it all comes down to this duty to accommodate, an employer does not have to accommodate hearing aids because it's a medical device. And B, to and from work. Are you in the office today, Zoe?
I am, yeah.
Did your boss pick you up on the way in, or did you have to get to work on your own?
I did have to get to work on my own,
right.
Yes.
So it's one of the responsibilities of employees is we have to get ourselves to and from work when we work in an office away from our home. So if you know somebody in a manual wheelchair, there's some ways we can add power to that chair to assist in getting them from home to transit to work or home to work and back, or help modify their motor vehicle. Due to their disability, they can't use their feet for gas and brake. So we modify their motor vehicle. They have to supply the vehicle, and we modify it for hand controls for gas and brake. If it's a van, we can provide ramp access to the side or the back. If it's a pickup truck, lift access to get in. If they're in a sedan, a car, most people that are in a wheelchair that drive themselves will enter through the passenger seat and actually drag their chair into the car. Now, again, they have to supply the vehicle. It doesn't have to be brand new, but it's going to be fairly new. And there are levels of approvals. through ministry and motor vehicles. But Zoe, we've done a whole bunch of them since the program started in 2019. We'll do a bunch more, and these have been life-changing modifications for folks. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that definitely did. That's phenomenal. Alrighty, so can I go buy my assistive technology and get a reimbursement from the program?
That is a great question, Zoe. You know, there's not too many hard lines with the ministry and the program. They let us administer it for the most part. And if things require a higher level of approval, that's where we work with them. But one hard line for sure is no. You cannot go out and get your assistive technology and then apply to the program and hope to get reimbursed by the ministry. There is definitely a hard line there. People must apply, go through the approval process. Once they're approved, we assess by our occupational therapist, generate a report, work with our AT specialists, and we procure the solutions, arrange to have them delivered, installed, and the individual trained, and follow up in 24 weeks. So no, they definitely cannot get reimbursed. Excellent question, Zoe.
Mhm. Good to know. Who does the assessments and are they qualified?
Yeah. So yeah, Neil Squire, this is a big part of what we do. We're blessed to have been in our third program with the ministry here in BC, providing assistive technology supports to people with disabilities in BC. So we have occupational therapists, some of the best in all of Canada. We have one lady with us, Katrina. She joined us right out of university in the 80s, and she's still with us today. She's quite famous in the circle of occupational therapists because it has been her lifelong mission to work with persons with disabilities. So they're highly trained. We have 6 occupational therapists in the province. I believe 5 of them have their masters of OT. The people that they work with are assistive technology specialists. Most of them have a rehab assistant degree out of university, which is a 2 or 3 year course. And then their task, life task, is to stay leading edge, if you will, to the assistive technologies that they're out there. So highly trained right out of the gate, and then they have to keep up that high level of knowledge as we all know, technology moves at a rapid pace. So yeah, to answer your question, these are absolutely the most highly qualified people in the entire country that work with our clients for this program.
Yeah, wow, definitely sounds it. Does this cover all of British Columbia?
Yes, it absolutely does. Anybody, like you were saying, Zoe, about legally able to work in the province of BC, the qualifications for the assistive technology side are the same as the ES side. So anybody employed in the province of BC that fits that description of working in a small business or self-employed, or they require hearing aids or to and from work assistance, where the size of their employer doesn't really matter.
Okay. What are some of the most common accommodations you provide?
Yeah, good question. Well, Zoe, 70% of us work in a desk environment. Hasn't it felt like we've been tied to our desk for the last 2.5 years? Right, with the pandemic. So where am I going with that? Ergonomics are a big part of this program. Chronic pain is the #1 disability in Canada. It affects a lot of people. And, you know, being poorly set up in your desk for a day, a week, or a month, it's not great, but it's not going to kill you. But when you've been working in a situation for months or years, the accumulation of challenges that can create for somebody's body can be absolutely debilitating. So what does that mean? Supportive ergonomic chairs, maybe a sit to stand station for somebody that's got a severe back issue, where going from sitting to standing throughout the day will help relieve some of that pressure. Different input devices. We're all working in computers, so keyboards, mice, software. We do a lot of work with the CNIB, as mentioned, so visual aids for people, whether they be a handheld magnifier or something that can just blow up the size of something on their screen, but not like doing it just in your Windows environment where the bigger the picture gets, the more distorted it gets. We have a cool piece of software called Zoom Text that you can expand something 1,000 times, but it'll maintain the integrity of the image. And a million other things. For sure, hearing aids, as mentioned, have been a huge part of this program. due to the high cost and the lack of coverage in our medical system. So they've been a really big part of this program as well. But for the listeners out there, there's a cool website, and it's called it's the Job Accommodation Network in the United States, and it's askjan.org. And I'm just going to put this in the chat. And then that would be where anybody can go and have a real good look at all the different assistive technologies out there, because there literally is millions of them. As I always say, in 2022, there's not many things we can't overcome as it relates to somebody that has a barrier to an employment-related activity. You know, the opportunity is really endless.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Will I have to pay for this service or be involved financially in any way?
Yeah, that depends. So ministry does task us, Zoe, with looking at people's income or family income less expenses if it's a family unit. People that are not employed, for the most part, that is minimized. But if they're not employed but have significant financial resources from whatever source, we do have to look at that. We have to, in some fashion, you know, protect the taxpayer that way. People that are employed, we have to involve their employer. First of all, we have to ask if the individual has gone to their employer to let them know about their challenges. If they have, and the employer says, look, we're not in a position to help you at this time, then we can help that individual. We will still go back to the employer through that process and see if there's an ability for them to contribute something. And quite frankly, Zoe, the conversations we've had with employers around the province has been absolutely positive. Again, with our difficult situation with people and lack of people as it relates to positions that need to be filled, employers, I think, are doing more than ever to keep a good employee, because let's face it, I think most employers and organizations realize their number one asset is you and me, right? Like, we are the important part of the process to deliver the services, whatever the organization is. So if the individual has the ability to contribute, here's what's cool: they get ownership. So if we're doing an ergonomic chair and a sit-to-stand station and keyboards and mice and monitor arms and all that, and let's say the individual has the ability to contribute for the chair, they would own that chair. And they get a document that says they own that chair. So if they move from ABC company to XYZ company, they have a document that says they own the chair. The employer knows they own the chair, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that aspect. And when the employer contributes, either way, the employer gets ownership, other than if ownership is given to an individual. Once the program has purchased something that goes to their office, other than when there's a personal contribution, the employer owns that product. The ministry doesn't hold ownership to that. And if that employee leaves and the business owner goes, well, you can take the chair because that's yours, you can also take that sit-to-stand desk because we know you're going to need that in your next opportunity, but that's up to that employer.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great news.
So done on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So similar question, but will my employer have to assist in paying for any of the accommodations?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of answered that in this too. So we look at the size of the organization first to see if that individual can even qualify for services. If the organization is of the size where, yes, they would qualify for services through us, then we've made sure that the employer and the employee have had a discussion. The employer knows of the barrier. They've said, look, we're not in a position to help. Then we do our assessment and make the recommendations. We go back to the employer and say, look, these are the solutions that we're bringing in for your employee. Is there an ability for you to contribute to part of that? Again, often the response is positive. And they get involved financially. What nobody ever has to pay for is the assessment piece. That piece done by our OTs and the work with our assistive technology specialists, that is always funded within the program, and nobody ever has to contribute to that.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for participating today, Nate. Those are all the questions that I have for you. Not sure if there's anything lastly that you want to add. Maybe we can pop some contact details into the comments perhaps. But if you're okay, I'll check the comments, see if there's anything that people would like answered?
Yeah, so the only thing I
See.
guess we'd leave with, Zoe, is that the program is scheduled to end in March of 2024, at the end of March 2024. And while there are options for the ministry to extend the program, we don't know yet because they haven't told us one way or the other. But if the program does end, and it'll be a 5-year program, but by the time it wraps up, they will send us a notification in late October of November of 2023 to say either A, it's extended, or either B, we're going to wrap this up. And while there might be another program that starts in April of 2024, when they send us that notification in October or November of 23, they'll tell us to stop taking applications. So if there's anybody out there now that's humming or hawing, or get your application in now, the program's well funded. I can promise you, you're not taking money away from somebody else with a disability that needs it or anything like that. We just don't want to see anybody get left behind.
Yeah,
right?
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. It was so good to learn about this today. And I really hope that, it helps whoever was tuning in now or gets to watch the video later on in our feed. So really appreciate you participating today. Thank you.
Thanks, Zoe. Great job hosting the panel today. The panel of one.
Well, it was great chatting. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.